All right, we're just about halfway through the year, and I have read some pretty amazing books so far. And I'm here to recommend to you today 6 of my favorite reads so far this year. So, my first 2 books that I'll recommend are going to be Stephen King books. The first one of which is Misery, and I'll tell you about the second one in a little bit. But Misery was just an absolutely amazing story. It's actually really short. It's probably, I think, like 300 to 400 pages max, but honestly I really think it's more near the 300 page range. And I just loved that story. It was so suspenseful and kept you on the edge of your seat so much. There were scenes where I was genuinely like biting my teeth and like on the edge of my seat, not knowing what was about to happen, scared to death for the main character. And it was an amazing story, and it had an amazing plot, some great like themes in there, and honestly just it wasn't really horror. I would say it was more of like a suspenseful thriller, and I loved it through and through. It was so much fun. It was so great. It's honestly up there with one of my favorite Stephen King novels of all time, but this second book is my absolute favorite that I also read this year, which I guess is really exciting. And the second one is 11/22/63. Now, this book is probably like the 7th or 8th book that I read by Stephen King, and up to that point I had read some pretty damn good ones like Salem's Lot, I had read The Shining, and a couple of other really great stories. But 11/22/63 really stood out for me because like I have a review out for this, right, that I published earlier on this year. And I just loved the way that Stephen King has us immersed into the 1960s world. If you don't know, this story takes place in the 1960s. It's about like time travel, and this character now, this high school teacher, he travels back in time and tries to stop the murder of JFK. And so it really is him just, it follows his life in the 1960s as he like navigates that life and comes to like investigate all of the theories and things like that behind the JFK assassination. But he does travel back in time about 5 years before the assassination, so he has to live out those 5 years, and he makes some amazing connections there. He gets into this great community, and it's just the way that Stephen King told this story. I guess some people have the critique of it where they say that the story lingers too much on one place or another, where it kind of loses sight of the main plot. But honestly, I loved that it took that direction, and it kind of took like a little detour and explained more of his life in that old 1960s town. Because first of all, the immersion into the 1960s atmosphere was just like insane. Like I felt like I was there. I could visualize everything there. I could hear the music that was playing. I could see him driving down the road in his old convertible, and I loved that part about it. And then more than that, it really just like it made me build a connection with the characters a lot more. And even though I guess it did stray away from the main plot a bit, I really think that it added something to the story. But I can see how somebody might not like that. Maybe it's a little meandering, but honestly, I loved it, and it is my favorite Stephen King book of all time, especially for the reason that the ending is absolutely amazing. I think Stephen King nailed this ending like 10 out of 10, perfect. I wouldn't have changed a thing. And that's something that's a lot to say for Stephen King, because honestly, in a lot of his novels, he kind of flops the ending. He always has these great ideas, these great stories, great development, great like anticipation getting into the climax, and then the climax is awesome. But he kind of struggles, I feel at least, to wrap up his stories very well. And sometimes I feel just a little bit dissatisfied. And that's happened a couple of times now with some of the King books that I've read. But 11/22/63 absolutely stuck the landing, and that's why it's my favorite Stephen King novel that I've read so far. Okay, the next book that I'm gonna recommend, one of my top reads from 2021 so far for this first half of the year, is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This book is like an all-time classic. There's an amazing show behind it, which I haven't watched yet, but I want to get to at some point. But it's a classic. Everybody loves it. It has such amazing commentary on like power dynamics and like the objectification of women, and just so much commentary on feminism and things like that. And if you don't know, this takes place in like a dystopian future where women are mostly used just for their like reproductive needs. And they're in like an authoritarian regime that controls everything, and women are really repressed there. They're really oppressed, and it shows this one woman's struggle living in that world and trying to fight for her own identity and fight for her own agency. And it's just absolutely amazingly written, and I loved it so much. And the ending was also really, really good. Can't recommend this highly enough. It's also really short. I think like 300 pages, 300 to 400 max, and really quick read. Really, really interesting, and I could have conversations about this book all day long. When I read this book, I started annotating it, and I had annotations like several per page, and I had to stop about a third through the book because I was so gripped by the story that I couldn't stop to put down annotations. So the first third of the book is like full of tabs, and then the rest of the book is empty. There's no tabs because I wanted to get through it so fast. And it was just an amazing book, and I cannot recommend it enough too. Okay, next is a book that I actually just finished. It's Guards by Terry Pratchett. I actually have a vlog for that book that came out, I guess when this video comes out, it would have been last week. So, no, not last week. Literally on Tuesday. My last video is the Guards reading vlog, and I love this book so much. This is my second Discworld book, and I am loving the world so far. I'm loving like the whimsy, the like absurdist themes in this world, as well as like I love how Terry Pratchett uses this absurdist backdrop, this absurdist setting to really like give a lighthearted tone to a lot of commentary that he puts in there, because throughout his story he talks about power structures. He talks about the way that people control each other. He talks about how like people sometimes are like herd-minded, and sometimes how people he examines the human psyche, and he examines like our social interactions so well, but it doesn't seem preachy, it doesn't seem boring. It's done in such a way that it's like fun and lighthearted, and really if you're not really looking for it, you won't be able to tell. But I know that Terry Pratchett does that a lot, and I'm always looking for that kind of thing because I think it just adds another layer to the story. And I love the characters in the story. We follow Captain Vimes, which is one of my... I watched this booktuber, Alan from Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, and Captain Vimes is one of his favorite fantasy characters of all time. And honestly, I'm really liking him so far, and I'm really interested to keep reading about him in the later Discworld novels. And this book just has a great cast of characters, and again, like I said, the whimsy, the plot, everything is just so well written, so well done that you'll get through this book in a breeze, and it's just an absolutely fun, amazing read all the way throughout. All right, this fifth pick is another Discworld book, and it's Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. And this was the first Discworld book that I ever read, and my favorite of the two that I've read so far. But honestly, it's up there in one of my favorite books of all time because it had such great commentary on religion, the institutes of religion, power structures, how people in power use like these structures to control others, how people abuse their power within religion to control and manipulate others, and how also it examines the people who are being controlled. It examines their mentality, how they come to be like sheep. They're just following a blind leader and kind of lose sight of their actual faith. And it has some great themes in there. This even more than Guards is really centralized around the point of religion and examining religion and religious institutions. and I absolutely loved it. One of my favorite reads of all time. When I first read this, I couldn't shut up about it because it was that good. And I'm sorry, if you don't know, this story follows this great god Om. The name of the god is Om, but he's like diminishing in power because he's losing a lot of his followers. Nobody really believes in him anymore, and so he's taken the form of a turtle, like an unassuming, harmless turtle, and comes back to Earth and is picked up by his one only left like sole believer. And so it shows like their journey together and their interactions and how they come to like, I don't want to give too much away. It shows their journey together, and it's just a really great story, and there's a lot of character development both for the follower and for the actual god, which was really interesting. And so I love this story. Definitely give it a read. Please, please, please give it a read. I want to talk to anybody and everybody about it. I loved it so much. And then the last book that I'm going to recommend to you guys that I read in the first half of 2021 is The Lies of Lokimora. This book is one of my favorites. Now, so this is more of like a heist thief novel, and I really love, like, I love the movie Ocean's 11. I love a good heist story, and I love seeing how these like complex plans come together, and I love seeing them like pull off a plan and then like something goes wrong and they figure it out and then they explain everything to you afterwards and you're just like, whoa, right? It's like, it's so cool and I love it so much. So this story follows this band of thieves, and mainly it follows Lokimora, like the leader of this band of thieves, and it shows they have a big heist planned, and it gets derailed. It gets like something interferes and everything goes to shit, and it just shows like their journey. And I really love this story so much. Like I said, like I love the thief aspect of it. It was just really cool to see them pulling off a heist. But also I loved the camaraderie and the friendships at the center of this story. You really get a sense that these characters love each other, that they have a great bond with each other. They're all really great friends. They're really close. They really care for each other. And so when some things happen to certain characters, like you can feel the hurt of Lokimora or Jean Tannen or any of the other characters. You feel their hurt because they are so close together. And I love that friendship. I love their camaraderie. I love the banter that they have. And I really couldn't recommend this story enough because it is such a great first story to a series. And I actually just finished the second book about 2 weeks ago, and I like that one pretty well too. But the first book is just like jaw-dropping, amazing, and you really have to pick it up because this is like one of the best fantasy novels out right now, I think. Or I haven't read too much fantasy, but it's one of the best fantasy novels that I have read so far. And I really loved it. It was really different. The atmosphere was really, really great. And Scott Lynch's writing was pretty impeccable to me. Honestly, pick this up right now. Great, great story. If you like a good heist novel, you like seeing some thieves get up to some shenanigans, this is the story for you. And if you like some great friendships and some great camaraderie and connections, this is also the story for you. So pick this up and let me know what you think, because I love this story. All right, and those are the 6 books that I am recommending to you that I have loved in the first half of 2021. These are my favorite books that I've read so far. Hopefully, I love these books, but hopefully they'll get topped even more by other books that I read in the second half, because I want as much great content as I can get. But I don't know, the competition is looking tough right now. These books are some heavy hitters and I've loved them so far. I really hope you give them a read. If you have read them before, let me know what you thought about them. If you disagree with me, maybe you hated them, I don't know. So just let me know down below in the comments. Have you read these books? Are you looking forward to reading them? Do you hate them? Whatever. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe down below, please. It really helps a lot. And thank you guys for sticking to the end of the video. I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.